Everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Guys, this is show 192. Today's date is October 23rd. That's the reason for the pumpkin. And the name of the show is Empty Barrel. I know. But guys, on this show, we're going to teach you new vocabulary. When dealing with the Republican administration, we're starting to learn new words again. Remember, we learned about fake news and alternative facts? Well, we got another one. It's called empty barrel. And the funny thing was, you know, when I mentioned it before the show, Judy said she heard the term before. You know, an empty barrel makes a lot of noise. And that almost makes sense. Because I remember when I was a kid at Mike Polikoff's house, I went in a barrel, they rolled me down a hill, and guys, I want to tell you, it was about 2 weeks before I could see straight. So whatever you do, don't go in a small barrel down a hill. You won't like it. But anyway, so the name of the show is Empty Barrel. And Judy said it made sense because it seemed like empty barrels would make more noise, which I agree with. But Kurt said he thought it was like looking down the barrel of a gun. But guys, we all know when it comes to the Republican Party and what a barrel is all about, and an empty barrel is about what? A barrel with no fossil fuel oil in it. And guys, we're going to have fun with this expression, but we're not going to take the bait tonight. Nope, we're not going to take the bait. We're not going to get into this he said, she said with Trump and the Congresswoman Wilson and with the widow of the slain Marine. Now, we're going to take the high road, and we're going to prove that we earn our, that we rate our salt. And that the name of the show, Who's Telling the Truth, because we're going to go after the Republican Chief of Staff, John Kelly, and we're going to show you what he said on the podium at the White House. So, Judy, clip 1, please.
Congresswoman stood up, and in the long tradition of empty barrels making the most noise, stood up there and all of that, and talked about how she was instrumental in getting the funding for that building.
But that's not what happened.
And a congresswoman
Wait, Judy, go back for a second yet. I got to have a little fun here. So, guys, that's not what happened, huh? So I just want to say, is this guy funning us?
Stood up there,
or is this a joke, or is he just clowning around?
How she was instrumental in getting the funding for that building.
But that's not what happened.
All right, so that's not what happened, guys. And we just want to see, was he clowning around? You know? And the thing is, you know, so, you know, does he think this whole thing is a joke? So let's take a look. This is a little bit longer clip, and now we're starting to get on the same page. So, Judy, number 2, please.
And a congresswoman stood up, and in the long tradition of empty barrels making the most noise, stood up there and all of that, and talked about how she was instrumental in getting the funding for that building. And how she took care of her constituents because she got the money, and she just called up President Obama, and on that phone call, he gave the money, the $20 million to build the building. And she sat down, and we were stunned. Stunned that she'd done it.
Stunned.
Even for someone that is that empty a barrel. We were stunned.
Guys, they were stunned. And this is what drives me nuts. You know, the guy made a mistake, and you think by now he would have owned up to it, and he would have apologized and said, hey, listen, I was fed the wrong information. Something went wrong. And you know, you would think that he would man up and do that. But no, no, no. Not with this administration. With this administration, we're going to run around and we're going to deny, 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 and we're going to have somebody like our fearless leader who will sit there and he'll say, I didn't say what she said I said. So, Judy, let's have clip number 3, please.
Guys, look
at the body language.
Didn't say what that congresswoman said. Didn't say it at all. She knows it, and she now is not saying it. I did not say what she said, and I'd like her to make the statement again, because I did not say what she said. I had a very nice conversation with the woman, with the wife, who sounded like a lovely woman, did not say what the congresswoman said, and most people aren't too surprised to hear that.
What's the proof, Mr. President?
Let her make her statement again, and then you'll find out.
Guys, what's wrong with Trump? Well, what I should say is, what's right with Trump? I mean, look at him, like a little kid, sitting there, you know, like he's being scolded. But guys, the next clip, we're going to show you, and this is from John McCain, and it's very short and very sweet, and he says it right to the point. Why would you say something so stupid? Judy, number 4.
Why would you say something that stupid? Why would you ask something that dumb? Huh?
Judy, one more time. Yeah, hit it again.
Why would you say something that stupid? Why would you ask something that dumb? Huh?
Now, guys, you see who's interviewing him, right? Right? One of the Foxstitutes. One of the guys who sold his soul and is standing there going, hummity, 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 now what do I do? Wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Senator McCain, this ain't the way it's supposed to work. We're Fox News. You're supposed to help us carry the water for the Republican Party. What are you doing? But Judy, let's have some fun and let's show the whole clip. So video number 5, please.
And in fact, Senator McCain, I mean, I want you to listen to how he responded to one of our reporters' questions.
One of our own reporters.
Has your relationship with the president frayed to the point that you are not going to support anything that he comes to you and asks for?
Why would you say something that stupid? Why would you ask something that dumb?
Boy.
Huh? My job as a United States Senator is a senator from Arizona, which I was just reelected to. You mean that I'm somehow going to behave in a way that I'm going to block everything because of some personal disagreement? That's a dumb question.
It's a dumb question. And you know, but that's the way Fox is. And we're going to have some fun. We're going to show you a clip from Juan Williams on the 5. But first, we're going to show you a clip from Jake Tapper. And we're going to show you how they put everything together so that the proof is inevitable and you can't deny it. So Uncle Joey, when you're watching this clip, you'll understand that the chief of staff, a 4-star general, lied to your face and you bought it hook, line, and sinker. And we're going to expose it. And we're not going to stop until you guys get your act together and stop trying to brainwash and take advantage of the simple folk. So, Judy, let's have clip number 6, please.
When a reporter pointed out just minutes ago that Kelly had gotten his facts wrong about this speech, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said one of the most shocking things I've ever heard from that podium. She suggested that journalists cannot question generals. And
can you imagine
not
this?
To put too fine a point on it, but that's not how we do it here in the United States.
Jake, that's exactly what she said. She was asked a very simple question, if she had seen the video that was at odds with, in fact, what the chief of staff said yesterday. And she responded like this.
Have you seen the speech?
I have.
And then you know that most of it was her effusively praising these FBI agents. And when she was talking about what she did in Congress, she was not talking about securing $20 million. She was talking about naming the building
She
for
was
these
also
FBI
talking about
agents, who
that.
she then went on to effusively praise. That was the bulk of the speech.
She also mentioned that, and she also had quite a few comments that day that weren't part of that speech and weren't part of that video that were also witnessed by many people.
Can he come out here and talk to us about this at some point?
I think
so
he's
he can
addressed
get
that pretty
straight?
thoroughly yesterday.
No, he was wrong yesterday in talking about getting the money. The money was
If you want to go after
before
General
she came
Kelly,
into
that's up to
Congress.
you, but I think that if you want to get into a debate with a four-star Marine general, I think that's something highly inappropriate.
Of course, 4-star generals and 3-star generals and others at the Pentagon take questions all the time, Jake, but the reality now is John Kelly is the White House Chief of Staff, a political job.
And even if not, I mean, if she thinks that in the United States generals should not be questioned, cannot be questioned, I have a 10-part PBS Vietnam series she should watch. But let's turn to that videotape from 2015, because that's what this all is from. Right. What does the tape show?
Well, Jake, it was actually a fairly typical speech by a member of Congress. Yes, there was a self-congratulation, if you will, which is pretty typical for all members of Congress. But she also went on to effuse praise on Republican Speaker John Boehner, President Obama, and it was at odds entirely with what John Kelly said one day ago. Florida Congresswoman Frederica Wilson firing back today, accusing White House Chief of Staff John Kelly of lying, keeping alive the controversy over President Trump's condolence call to a war widow.
I heard his remarks, and I heard him say that I bragged that I secured the money for the building of the FBI building in Miramar. He can't just go on TV and lie on me. I was not even in Congress in 2009 when the money for the building was secured.
She wasn't in Congress, guys.
The Congresswoman responding on CNN to Kelly's searingly personal attack on her from the White House podium on Thursday, where he falsely claims she bragged about securing the money for a new FBI building in Florida.
The Congresswoman stood up, and in the long tradition of empty barrels making the most noise, stood up there and all of that, and talked about how she was instrumental in getting the funding for that building.
But that's not what happened. A review of the video from that 2015 ceremony posted by the South Florida Sun-Sentinel shows that Kelly misrepresented her speech, where she actually talked about turning to Republican House Speaker John Boehner and President Obama to speed up approval for the naming of the building.
Everyone said that's impossible. It takes at least 8 months to a year to complete the process, and I said, excuse my French. Oh, hell no. We're gonna get this done.
Kelly, who was in the audience for the speech, also didn't mention that the Congresswoman devoted a third of her remarks to honoring 2 slain FBI officers and effusively praising law enforcement officials.
I may, will all men and women and first responders who work in law enforcement stand up and down so that we can applaud you and what you do. Stand up.
Kelly used the speech to discredit the Congresswoman for her criticism of the president's call to Maisha Johnson.
Hey guys, what's the one thing they could do? What's the one thing they could do to this Congresswoman? Man up and apologize, right? Hey, we made a mistake. We're sorry. We got it wrong. Somebody gave me the wrong facts. And that's it. And you know what? We move ahead. But with Trump, anytime you challenge him, he's that counterpuncher that wraps his arms around himself. You saw the body language before. But the next clip, we're going to show the Congresswoman Wilson, and what she primarily says was, apologize, because you're smearing my reputation. You're trying to smear my reputation. So, Judy, let's have clip number 7, please.
Just a second.
Yeah, and I know that you don't want to make this, about yourself, and you have said, repeatedly that you want it to be about that issue. But I do have to ask you, your friend and colleague, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, has indicated that John Kelly, the chief of staff to the president, owes you an apology. He did get that story completely wrong that he talked about, which wasn't relevant to the Niger issue, but was about the dedication of the FBI building in your now congressional district. Would you like to have an apology from John Kelly?
John Kelly is almost, I guess you could say he was a puppet of the president, and what he was trying to do was divert the attention away from the president onto me, and he basically just lied on me. And I don't appreciate people lying on me. And that's what he did. I've been in politics a long time, and most things don't bother me. It just rolls off my back. I've been lied on before, but the character assassination that he went through to call me out of my name and empty barrel and all the work that I've done in this community, not only does he owe me an apology, but he owes an apology to the American people, because when he lied on me, he lied to them. And I don't think that's fair, and I think it's wrong. And yes, he does owe the American people an apology for lying on one of their congresswomen.
Representative Frederica Wilson, always love talking to you. Thank you so much for your time, and please convey all of our condolences to LaDavid Johnson.
Don't lie on me. That's why we call the show Who's Telling the Truth, so that when people try to lie on you, we catch them and we give them the old bada-bing. And guys, the next clip is going to be from my favorite at Fox News, Juan Williams. And we're going to start off with a very short clip where he gives Jesse Waters the business, and then we're going to play the whole clip. So, Judy, number 8, please.
My goodness. Now, Jesse, you see what that was?
Yes.
She was talking about her ability to get the building named for 2 slain FBI agents, not the funding. So when you're reading that, you're deceiving the audience.
No, I'm not deceiving the audience.
Guys, he's trying to deceive the audience. But we won't let him, will we? And this is the fun of doing this show. Because I tell you, if there's one thing I love doing, I love catching them in the act. I love catching them with their hand in the cookie jar. And I tell you, a lot of times, for some reason, I guess Fox figures it doesn't matter how many times they shoot themselves in the foot. The people that watch Fox News, like Uncle Joey and Uncle Steve, little Stevie, hey, Stevie, I got a surprise coming up for you. I'm going to make you look like a buffoon in a few minutes. But, Judy, let's have some fun. Let's see. Now, this is the whole clip from the 5, so clip number 9, please.
General Kelly said he was stunned that Representative Wilson made comments at a building dedication honoring slain FBI agents about her own actions in Congress, including lobbying former President Obama on legislation. As General Kelly pointed out, if you're able to make a sacred act like honoring American heroes all about yourself, you're an empty barrel. If you don't understand that reference, I'll put it a little more simply, as we say in the South, all hat, no cattle.
Well, in fact, have you seen the speech?
I have.
And then you know that most of it was her effusively praising these FBI agents. And when she was talking about what she did in Congress, she was not talking about securing the $20 million.
What he said, there was a lot of grandstanding. He was stunned that she had taken that opportunity to make it about herself.
My goodness. Now, Jesse, you see what that was?
Yes.
She was talking about her ability to get the building named for 2 slain FBI agents, not the funding. So when you're reading that, you're deceiving the audience.
No, I'm not deceiving the audience. She's acting like a braggart and taking credit.
You know what I say?
The event did not call for that.
You know what I say? I say it's all unicorn, no horn. Look, can we all agree that these stories are like, what happens is these are bad stories because whether it's football, kneeling, or it's funerals, once it's infused with politics, and the next step is racial politics, and we start picking at this scab, and we can't stop till another scab erupts, and then we pick at that. We don't know where do we want to end up with identity politics? If America is eternally
Identity
eating
politics.
each other alive, what is the solution? What does the social stop? And it's incumbent upon the media as well to say, who cares if this is good for ratings? It's bad for the country.
Wow, that's strong. But don't you think that Donald Trump plays it?
I think we're all guilty.
Okay.
But also, I don't know why she has
not
any...
let this go.
No, absolutely. But what does she have to gain by this kind of behavior and, just really horrific towards Gold Star families, racist towards General Kelly, stepping on the backs of Gold Star families? I don't like it at all. And I'm quite certain the American people don't like it. It's very much so conduct unbecoming.
And
guys, Fox used to have as their slogan, fair and balanced. Well, on the 5, you got 4 conservatives and 1 liberal. Now, to a conservative, that's fair and balanced. That's the way they look at things. My side, my party, right or wrong, my party. It doesn't, and how many people are going to watch this show and are going to see how Kelly lied, and you think they're going to say, well, you know what, I've about had it with this party. These guys do nothing but lie. But like Gutfeld said, it's all about identity politics. And Paul Ryan must go to the same think tank meetings that Greg Gutfeld goes to, because listen to what he says on CBS News in the morning. Clip 10, Judy.
And what identity politics does is it seeks to exploit fear, it seeks to exploit ignorance, and it seeks to exploit differences among people and prey on those differences.
Fear and ignorance.
Discontent deepened and sharpened partisan conflicts. Bigotry seems emboldened. Our politics seems more vulnerable to conspiracy theories and outright fabrication.
And I didn't hear his speech, but I think identity politics has gotten out of control in this country. And I think identity politics is being played on the left and on the right. And there are some people who believe that identity politics is the way to win an election.
I assume
and it
when
is
you talk
just
about
wrong.
identity politics, talking about white supremacists and
well, that's even worse than identity politics. Identity politics, that's a severe, awful, dark form of identity politics. But the point I'm trying to say is, look, I'm a conservative. There are liberals. Last night, that's one thing. We all want to help our country and help people and unify, and we have different ideas and principles on how to achieve that goal. Yeah. But when you practice identity politics, you're trying to divide people for gain. You're trying to divide the country. You're trying to divide, citizens against one another for some political gain, and that is a political tactic that unfortunately has been tried over and over again, much more lately, and I think it's wrong.
He thinks it's wrong, but would he do anything to stop it? No way. It's the only way the Republican Party can win. But you notice he said the way they like to exploit fear and ignorance. Talk about ignorance. Ask any Republican about global warming. They're as dumb as the day is long, and they refuse to accept science. And this is what creates the divide. You've got the division in the country, and you've got the rich people that are convincing. Well, anyway, you know what? When it comes to division, there's nobody that can explain it any better than George Carlin. So, Judy, let's have clip number 11, please.
I'd like to talk about a few things that bring us together, okay? Things that emphasize our similarities instead of our differences, which is all you ever hear about in this country, is our differences.
Little volume, Kurt.
Politicians and the media always pushing the things that separate us, things that make us different. That's the way the ruling class operates in any society. They divide the rest of the people. They keep the lower and the middle classes fighting with each other so that they, the rich, can run off with all the money. Fairly simple thing. Fairly simple thing happens to work. Anything that's different about us, that's what they're pushing at you. Racial differences, religious, ethnic, national backgrounds, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality, anything they can do to keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank. You know how I describe the economic and social classes in this country? The upper class keeps all of the money, pays none of the taxes. The middle class pays all of the taxes, does all of the work. The poor are there just to scare the shit out of the middle class. Keep them showing up at those jobs.
Guys, it's funny, but it's true. And this is what happens when you create the division. Look, Trump won the election, didn't he? Why? Because he's a Rhodes Scholar? Because he wants to better the country? No, he created the division. You get guys like Uncle Joey. You know, you'll say, Uncle Joey, you know, what about the election? Well, you know, Hillary's not in there. Yeah, you're right, Hillary's not in there. But guess what, Joey? You don't have health care either. And then, you know, now we're going to, in a little while, we're going to start talking about taxes. And what are you going to say about taxes? You say, oh, the good thing about taxes is Hillary's not in office. Yeah, Hillary's not in office. But is the Republican Party going to do anything to help the middle class? No. All the money's going to go to the top. Why? Because those are the people that paid to have them elected. It's that simple. And you got caught up in the wash, the brainwashing, and it just goes on and on. But you know, we went from one master, and now we're going to come to another master. Last Friday night, Bill Maher talked about how influential the social media can be. And just listen to what he has to say, because after Bill Maher, we're going to rip little Stevie a new one on the social media, and we're going to make him feel sorry that he tries to come on Facebook and try to preach his BS. So, Judy, let's have clip number 12, please.
And finally, new rule, if Russia is going to keep attacking America, then America really should fight back. Look, you know, the conventional wisdom is that in the 1980s, St. Ronald Reagan defeated the Soviet Union. And then the Berlin Wall came down and everybody was friends. But what really happened was we stopped fighting the Cold War, but the Russians never did. They may have changed the name of the KGB the way Kentucky Fried Chicken became KFC, but trust me, they're both still out there poisoning people. There is an entire building in St. Petersburg filled with a Russian troll army. Hundreds of employees of their Defense Department sitting in front of computers, pretending to be Americans, and creating thousands of tweets, memes, news site comments, and flat-out fake stories designed not to take sides on any issue, but just to get us fighting about it, to create chaos, the better to elect the chaos candidate. Here's an example of a Russian-created meme from 2016. It says, up to 5.7 million illegals may have voted in 2008 election. Well, that, of course, is ridiculous, but it nevertheless reached 10 million American voters by way of Facebook, millions more through Twitter, and one guy on Bing.
But yeah, we're going to go right in order, so we're not going to have to go backwards, but...
Hillary Clinton spent over $1 billion on the campaign, and the Russians beat her with 150 grand because they were able to turn Facebook into Fakebook. Or a more apt name might be Shit Starter. Because that's what they were doing. That's what their meddling was meant to do, start shit. And boy, was that easy to do, since Facebook is the place where thinking went to die. All the time, people used to just waste reading books and newspapers. Well, now they're sharing. Isn't it great that we all share? Putin thinks it's great. That's why he only had to spend 150 grand, because we spread his propaganda for him. And it really bugs me that Facebook took that word and rat-fucked it. Sharing, as I recall it, meant actually giving something of yours away to another. Another kid forgot his lunch, you gave him half of yours. Sharing. But how is it sharing to send me a picture of your lunch? That's just saying, I've got food and you don't. Facebook sharing isn't sharing. It's mostly humble bragging. Oh, so embarrassed. Didn't realize there was a hole in the knee of my jeans and now my penis was showing. It's a lot of that bullshit, and it's a healthy amount of, here's something I want you to know I have. For something called sharing, there's an awful lot of, look at me. Look how talented my kids are. Look what great concert seats I have. Look, I'm in Italy and you're in Pacoima. And the Russians saw this, and they took our everyone needs to smell my every brain fart culture and used it as the engine for spreading their bullshit for the purpose of starting cockfights. Except we're the cocks. We're the brainless birds pecking at each other. That's what Putin knew. That with social media, it would be easy to get America to start cockfighting. He just made sure the tiniest cock won.
Ooh. All right, Judy. The old bada-bing. Uh-oh. All right, guys. Now we're going to have a little fun with, we're going to go on to, we tried to do this last week, but we kind of goofed. So we're going to make up and have twice as much fun this week. But first, we're going to show you a still. And this is a still from Uncle Joey's Facebook page, and it's called Things to Ponder. So, Judy, can you bring up number 25? There you go. Okay. And guys, I'm going to read this. And so Joey wrote this in the header. Have you ever noticed that the people who bitch about repealing the death tax are the freeloaders or the people who want the freeloaders' vote? And then underneath is written, Trump is right on the death tax. A life of paying taxes is enough. And then, Judy, if you go to the next still, and guys, I just wanted to bring this up to show you that this is what I wrote underneath, but we're gonna go to the still after that, which is number try 22, Judy. What did I do? What happened to me here? Okay, guys. Now I want to read this to you, and this is what I wrote in response to the picture. And I wrote, Trump wants to protect his family and his billionaire buddies. That's right. And the Republican voting simple folk have been brainwashed to believe the estate tax hurts the middle class. What the F? Who does the repeal of the estate tax benefit? The top 0.02%. Any questions? And little Stevie wrote back, well, ass clown, the repeal of the death tax benefits anyone who inherits after the death of a family member. Say that, anyone who inherits after the death of a family member. But they putting your bullshit spin on anything that doesn't come from one of your anti-American lying handlers. It's what you do. So in other words, it would be anti-American to want to tax a billionaire. That's what Stevie's saying. And I answered, Stevie, you're wrong. And you just proved to everyone that you're an a-hole who doesn't know what he's talking about. Watch the videos and come back and apologize. All right, and Judy, can you, whoop, I went the wrong way, so I gotta, all right, so, I don't know what I did here. All right, you're on, I can't hear what you're saying, Judy.
You were.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I did wrong over here. I goofed up on my part. All right, so Judy, I'm gonna go to 24 now, I hope. All right. So I wrote to Joey, I said, you're a Republican dream. You only see what your party wants you to see and nothing else. And Uncle Joey answered back, get to your point on how Steve was wrong, or you're going going kitty jail again. Guy, he knocks me off his website. So off his Facebook page if I don't agree with him. So I answered back and I said, Stevie said, and I quote, "The repeal of the death tax benefits anyone who inherits after the death of a family member," didn't he? But we both know that is wrong because it only applies to the top 0.02% of the people who inherit, and only if the estate is over $5 million for a single account. So Stevie was under the wrong impression, but Uncle Rich saved the day by giving him facts so he won't make a fool out of himself again. You're welcome, Stevie. And then Joey wrote back, "You're the one making a fool out of yourself, as always. You just what you said proves Steve was correct. You're an idiot." And I wrote back, "I love catching you clowns in a lie. It makes my day. Thank you." And I got it all in black and white. There's no escape. You got bitch slapped, bada-bing. Now, guys, Judy, come back to me. So, guys, what do we do on this show? We prove our point. Always, right? And how do we prove our point? With videos. So we're going to show you a video of Bernie on the floor of the Senate explaining the estate tax. And you know, when you say something on the floor of the Senate, you better have your act together. Right, Stevie? Oh, Stevie, it was a pleasure proving you wrong. Anytime you want to talk about global warming, I'll be glad to make you look just as stupid. Oh, and guys, I always give Stevie the business because he's homeschooled. But you know what, Steve? You can always get a GED, kid. Yeah. I mean, and you know another funny thing? You can always look on the internet. You can look stuff up. You'd be surprised what you could find out, especially if you don't go to conservative sites. Then you're really going to learn. And you'll be surprised. You'll be like one of those Scientologists. You know, all of a sudden you see something and you go, wait a minute, you mean we're not a perfect group of people? No. All right, but anyway, so Judy, let's prove our point as usual with clip number 26, please. No? I'm sorry, video. There you go. My boy Bernie.
As you know, the estate tax applies only to the top 0.2%.
Got that, Stevie?
99.8% of Americans will not gain a nickel if the estate tax were repealed. Do you think most Americans who are struggling think it's a great idea to cut programs that impact working families and give unbelievable tax breaks to the wealthiest families in America?
This is about eliminating the estate tax so that Americans who have built businesses and created jobs and want to pass those companies on and continue their farms and continue their industry don't have to sell those businesses to pay the death tax.
No, actually, last study I saw thought that maybe 50 ranches and farmers may be impacted. What this is really about, and we should be honest about it, is that people like the Koch brothers, second wealthiest family in America, have spent hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to get benefits like this. So do you really think when you talk about families like the Koch brothers and the Walton family, and by the way, the Trump family, who would get something like a $4 billion tax break, do you really think that it makes sense, again, to cut programs that people desperately need to stay alive and give massive tax breaks to the children of the wealthiest family in this country?
We've made very difficult decisions, and I understand some of those programs I agree with are quite worthy, but we've made very difficult decisions to fund the military to protect Americans.
I apologize for interrupting. We just don't have a lot of time, so please accept my apology here. You made difficult decisions to give tax breaks to multi-billionaires and to cut programs for working families. I don't think those are difficult decisions. I think those are immoral decisions.
Those aren't difficult decisions. They're moral decisions. And Stevie, anybody in your family on Social Security, Medicare, any kind of benefits from the government? Is there anything that the Republican Party is going to take away from you? I know you get up on your high horse and you jump around, like a monkey. But do you ever think about what you're doing? I don't think so. That's why we do the show. And you seem to be in favor of what is becoming known as the silver spoon tax. Steve, were you born with a silver spoon in your mouth? Did you have to worry about anything growing up? Huh? Or did you have to struggle like everybody else? Judy, let's see what the silver spoon tax is all about. Number 27.
We are going to protect thousands of family businesses by ending the crushing, horrible, and unfair estate tax, sometimes known as the death tax.
You're lying.
The estate tax right now affects only the very richest Americans when they pass on their assets to their heirs. So the estate tax right now applies to 0.2% of estates each year, so 0.2%. It's only for estates that have over $11 million in net worth. That's the really largest possible estates. Right now it raises about $200 billion over a decade, and eliminating it will mean that $200 billion will no longer go into the government's coffers to help finance key investments and safety net programs, and instead is going to go to the heirs of the estates, who will now get a larger estate. So to give one example, if, for instance, Donald Trump was really worth $10 billion, as he has said, and if, at the end his estate passes on, right now the estate tax would impose a tax rate of about 40%. So in theory, about $4 billion if the estate were actually worth $10 billion. Without an estate tax, that $4 billion would be able to go to his heirs rather than to potentially public investments and other things the government could use it for.
That's a tax that has destroyed so many businesses and kept those businesses out of your family, your children, your grandchildren. It's very sad. But we are working to end the estate tax, to end the death tax, as it's often called.
Whether you call it the fair opportunity tax, or you could call it the silver spoon tax, it is a tax that is rooted in the idea that we do not simply want large amounts of wealth passed from generation to generation without some significant share of that wealth going back to the country that helped create that wealth and providing opportunities to others.
The wealth going back to the country that helped create the wealth. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to figure this one out, right, Stevie? Stevie, you got that, right? Am I right, Stevie? When you benefit from something, you give back, right? But you don't think that way now, because the Republican Party is taking advantage of you and brainwash you to think that paying tax is bad. But we're going to unbrainwash you. And the next clip we're going to show you is so that nobody can trick you when it comes to the effective tax rate. Because a lot of people just get bamboozled, and they hear one thing on Fox News, and they see something on the conservative media because they want to mislead you. And what do we want to do here? We want to try to teach you who's telling the truth. So Judy, let's have a little fun, and let's find out what the effective tax rate really is. Number 29, Judy.
Myth out there that U.S. corporations pay tax at a greater rate than corporations in other countries.
Do you know the United States has the highest corporate tax rate of any developed country in the world?
But that's just the stated maximum corporate rate.
We have the highest tax rate anywhere in the world.
We have a corporate rate at 35%. Most people don't pay that rate.
You made a statement a moment ago about how highly taxed corporations are. We have the highest corporate taxes in the world. Is that what you said? That's wrong.
In the developed world.
In the developed world, well, it's wrong.
We're the highest taxed nation in the developed world.
The effective rate, after taking into account the deductions and credits that are granted these corporations under our current tax law, is lower than many other countries.
We've already got the highest corporate tax rates in the developed world.
And I think the undeveloped world too.
Nominally, it's 35%. But in effective tax rates, it is 14%. Very few global corporations pay 35%.
There's some people that pay zero, and there's some people that pay the full rate.
The highest tax nation in the world. We're the highest tax nation in the world.
According to the GAO, the average tax rate is about 14%, which puts us in the middle of the global economy.
The Trump tax plan would reduce the corporate income tax rate from currently 35% down to 15%. That's over a 50% reduction.
We can work on tax reform, which puts money into the hands of working people, not into your billionaire friends.
So that would be a gigantic windfall to large corporations.
This Trump Republican tax proposal is a disaster, and the American people have got to stand up, and together we are going to defeat that awful proposal.
There's another one, Cruz. You know, he wants to take care of his billionaire buddies that helped him get elected. And on the next clip, we're going to see he's got to eat a little crow because Bernie gives him the business here. So, Judy, let's have the next clip, please.
Let me make a prediction. In 2 minutes, Senator Cruz is going to tell you that if we give tax breaks to the billionaires, like George W. Bush did, like Ronald Reagan, then we're going to create zillions of jobs and you're all going to become very, very rich. So we have a trickle-down economic theory, tax breaks for the wealthiest people, the largest corporations, and whoa, everything is good. That is a totally fraudulent theory. Here is the reality of American society today. For 40 years, the middle class of this country, the great middle class, has been shrinking. And what we have seen is a massive transfer of wealth from working families to the top 1/10 of 1%. Trillions in dollars because of corporate greed and an unfair tax system. Now, the Trump Republican tax proposal that's before us today, this proposal is being pushed by Senator Cruz's campaign contributors, some of the wealthiest people in this country, by the Koch brothers who are worth $90 billion. Why are they pushing this agenda? Because 80% of the tax breaks in this proposal will go to the top 1%.